the next another workshop, which is hosted by our amazing, lovely, Fassi Suzunlu. All right, so I hope you've already had like an amazing session with Isru about ISEC 2025 culture, what we need to do. But now in this particular workshop, I want to go deeper as an MC, what we can do to align ourselves to the ISEC 2025 culture. So this is day 2, and today we're talking all about the midterm ambition. Who is excited? Show me some. Show me some excitement in the chat. Faces. Come on, you guys are MCVPs. I need to see your beautiful faces. That's what gives me energy. That's what makes me want to work every day for the kind of things I work for. So if you're there, I don't know if it's possible, then open your cameras. If it's not, then I'm not forcing you. But we have a lovely, amazing CC member who's going to help me with this space. His name is Karanish from all the way from ISEC in India. He's an MCVP applicant for ISEC in India. So wish him luck. His interview is tomorrow. All right. So the session is role modeling ISEC 2025 for organizational culture for entity. Today's hashtag is shape the future. So whenever you're putting anything related to shape the future, anything related to anything on social media, make sure to put shape the future hashtag. All right. My name is Prayog. I am behind the screen. You all know me, shamelessly sharing my Instagram account once again. I reached 604 yesterday. So my bet is who can cross 1,000 threshold first. Is it me or is it, I think, yeah. So they have like a timer. So not followed me, follow me. Please change your name to your entity. I made like a nice joke in the presentation that I forgot at the school. Change your name to your entity, the name, and also at the end your role, so that my lovely Fassi here, my lovely CC buddy here, can help you put into the breakout groups. And I had stopped screen sharing because I realized I was showing you the wrong slides. Amazing. Yes, something like this. Entity name and roll calls. It will be easier for us to put into breakout rooms according to the entities. Okay, there's a lot of chat, there's a lot of buzz happening. Nice, cool, amazing. Karnish, yeah, once everybody starts, then you can assign them. Okay, cool. Let's start with the session. Okay, you already followed me. So the objective of this session is, okay, before even I go to the objective, this is a disclaimer. This is a global session, majorly made, like all the outline in the session and everything. Major work is done by our lovely AIVP Innovation, Aziz Masai, and I'm going to deliver it on his behalf. So my role here is a messenger from all the way from AIVP Innovation directly to you. So the session objectives for these sessions are, why do we need a culture for ISEC 2025 in the first place? You need to understand it. Second thing you need to understand is, what type of culture do we have currently in the organization? If you guys remember, if you filled a survey, if you filled something called some Excel sheet which you sent, hopefully you remember and you filled, that's how we assess the current culture. How do we measure culture? Like how do we assess it and how do we usually do it? I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you some resources for that. And at the end, what to do. Nice, good job, Salisha. And what to do it about in my entity, about the culture. So these are the session objectives, and it's going to be like a quick space. Yesterday in Isru's workshop, like yesterday also you guys had workshop with Isru, right, for the culture and the culture for leadership and all. So this is going to be specifically and highly focused on just ISEC 2025. So whatever discussions you have had yesterday, keep that in the back of your mind. That is also very important. That is also equally important. Not taking anything away from that, but just saying that for ISEC 2025, you need to like have the special session with the special facility. Haha. So that's a special object. So that's a session objective. So all of you who were present yesterday know what happened yesterday, right? We finally, after like almost 2 years, 2.5 years of work, finished all the things we wanted to launch and we wanted to present to the network about this very beautiful screen, this very beautiful thing which is there on your screen, is going to direct us not just for this year, not just for next year, but for the next 5 years as I 2025, the midterm ambition. All right. Let me just. I hope by now all of you know what this is. You know all the three elements. The first one is leadership at the core of everything we do, empowering young people, youth leaders. Second is building a long-lasting ISEC. By 2025, we want to have sufficient resources to continue developing leadership for years to come. And the last but not the least is developing purposeful partnerships. By 2025, we want to build a long-term partnerships that enables growth for us in the organization. And this is the stance, this is the statement: own the present, shape the future, lead the change. Also the theme for the conference. I hope you have checked out the cool Instagram stickers about it. If you have not, this is the time to take a picture and like check out the filter later. I mean, not right now in the middle of the session, but then make sure to check it out, post it, what do you understand by it, share, tag us. So I hope now all of you know this. One more important thing happened yesterday, right? One which is very interesting thing. It is we launched the goal for ISEC 2025. Let me see how many of you remember. What was the first goal? Type it in the chat. Okay, there is an element of Q&A to this. What is the percentage ideal membership goal? Type it in the chat. Wow, smart. KC, Hovan, MCP, Rage. Nice. Good job, MCP parents. Also, Elex. Nice. Oops. 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 Okay, I messed up a slide. Cool. Just give me a second. On the wrong slide. So, right, ideal membership is 85%. The LPS response rate is 40%. What is the number of entities in surplus? Type it in the chat. Whoa, Gooby, nice, 60, good stuff. Nice. Now, what is the NPS for partners? 40%, 40%. All of you, those who said 40%, all of you are wrong. That's not the goal for NPS for partners. It's for the goal for response rate for NPS for partners. Haha, it was a trick question. So just getting you guys to remember the goals. And last but not the least, the most important goal, which is not most important, all of them are very important. Don't quote me on it. I'll edit this part from the recording, okay? The income from BD partners, what's the goal? 1.5 what? NPR? 1.5, 2.5 million CAT, 1.5, 1.5. What is 1.5? Where are you guys checking this from? Is it from the message I sent on the group yesterday? Nice. Casey will learn all it for us. 1.4 million CAT. Thanks. I'm just speaking on it. Okay, that's right. Like there was a different number, 15612.72 or something of that sort. But then yeah. And last but not the least, the number of leadership experiences for GTA, GTE, and GV. What's okay, 800. I said GV also. You guys are all wrong. It's just for GTA and GTE. Okay, cool. So all of you know the goals, right? This is just, I want to take a moment to focus on this slide. So why am I even talking about this in this session? Because it's very important. We have goals, but now in the entity, we need to manage the members and the gap to translate these goals, translate these big visions, translate GV error 404 breakup. I love the breakup analogy by the way. Jeez. Okay, anyways, so focus on the session. So to go from goals to explain it to the membership, you have to manage the whole network, and the one of the biggest tools you have to do it is the culture. Like that's why we need to have like an ISEC 2025 related culture. Like what is the culture of the organization, and how can we as the highest leadership body in the entity can define and work on this culture to make sure that these goals, these ambitions, this vision is translated, because you don't want to fall behind. Like organization is direction is something else, and then you are doing something else. You don't want that to happen. So you need to align the whole membership, and the tool you have to do that is culture. So this is why it's very important. Now, how do you align these beautiful goals you have to the entity culture? Let me tell you how. But before that, how do you define a culture? This is a definition. Aziz mentioned there's a lot of definitions that are Aziz, I guess he googled the definition, and there were like he found more than 150 definitions for culture. Basically it's about values, assumption, expectations, definitions. Like you've been hearing about it in the morning session, in the yesterday's all the cultural workshop, everything we attended. Culture is what we do. It's about our values. It's about the 6 ISIC values we have and how do we live it. There are a lot of definitions for it, but like at the end you need to know like what a culture, how we can identify or define it is, like what binds an organization together, right? Like it's the glue that binds the organization together and takes us from where we are to where we want to go. So that's for the culture. The next part is going to be based on this book. I highly recommend you to read it. It's a bit technical book, but it's like a 200-250 pages. I've given you the PDF link also. I'll put that into the output. Yes. So if anybody is studying like a organizational design or OB or management students, this book. I think for some of you, it may be for a textbook also. It's a very classical book. It talks about a framework, which I'm going to explain you right now. And based on that, we have designed the culture. We have designed the culture of the organization, right? Given you the link, I think I'll send you the slides also. So based on this framework, we define the culture of the organization. So what you need to know about this is the framework inside that book. It's called the Organizational Culture Assessment Instrument, or in short form OCAI. How many of you know this OCAI before you took the survey? Casey, Kezia, wow, Indonesia, smart people. NJ, what about you? NJ didn't know. Okay, cool, nice. No worries. Just PTM, OD know it more, of course. Cool. So like basically this is an assessment. What it talks about, what you need to know, don't get into too much complicated. What you need to do, there are 6 elements in this assessment, and it assesses organization on 6 dimensions of organization culture. There is no right or wrong culture, but it's just that it is what it is. And this assessment gives us the most accurate picture on these 6 dimensions where our organizational culture stands. Is it every organization will have a different set of culture, but if you see in ISEC, we have a very tricky situation, right? We are an association organization. So even if I define like a one culture of ISEC, and in a diverse region as AP, every entity has a different culture. ISEC in India's culture is completely different than ISEC in Malaysia, than ISEC in Japan. Please check the sound. Okay. Not able to hear, or are you able to hear a lot of sounds? Is there a background noise? Just give me a second.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
Nice. Cool. Sorry for that. Cool. So this assessment basically talks about these 6 elements, and even though ISEC is one organization, but since we are independent entities, we have different layers, and in the diverse regions such as AP, we are like how when I say ISEC in Myanmar works is completely different than how ISEC in Australia works, for example. So we individually have our own entity cultures also, and this whole amalgamation of culture is making one ISEC culture. But that one glue which binds us together is our values, is the kind of OD models we have, the kind of RNRs we do, the kind of ICOM we do. Like there is a lot of diversity within it, but there are certain common elements across these different dimensions, and based on that our culture is defined. So what is this assessment actually checks is for these 6 things, right? these 6 things it checks. It checks for the external focuses and differentiation. It also checks for stability and control. It checks for internal focuses and integration, and it checks for flexibility and discretion. So if you see x-axis plus minus and y-axis plus minus, these are the four main things it checks, and it plots the organizations down across these things. And it checks for 6 dimension and having 4 alternative answers. So each of the 6 dimension will have will fit into either of these 4 types. And based on that, you have 4 main cultural types. Is it clear? Like, how does this whole thing works? There are 6 dimensions. Everything can either be 1, 2, 3, 4. And those 4 things are mentioned in this quadrant on the right. So based on that, there are, and the overall, if you assess all these 24 things, you have main 4 types of cultures of organization. And I'm going to explain these 4 types of these 4 types, and then wanted to check what could be one of the cultural type of your entity. So there are 4 types. That's the only thing you need to know right now. What are the 4 types? So let me go one by one in terms of all the 4 types. Okay. So the first type is called the hierarchical culture, or it's also known as the control culture. In this culture, the organization is compatible basically with structures. This is a control-based organization. It gives a high emphasis on who is the leader and who is the coordinator. So effective leaders, if they are good coordinators and good organizers, then this type of organizations run smoothly. But if you don't have effective leaders at the top, then the organization fails to achieve its task, basically. So this is a very hierarchical based structure. There are formal rules, policies, they hold the organizations together. And it's very efficient, it's very predictable, and it is a very stable type of culture to have in the organization. Are you guys clear with the control culture or a hierarchical culture? Does anyone want to give an example of an organization which has like a hierarchical structure? Or a very controlled structure? Give me an example. If you understood, you should be able to give an example, right? Think. Type it in the chat. Mostly in government, I guess. That's right. Big banks. Okay, can be. Governments, yes, of course. Governments, armies, your your armed forces, the formal organizations which are like intergovernmental organization, UN, military, yeah, not old fashioned. What is an old fashioned org? ISIC is also like 75 years old. What is it old fashioned? Yeah, that's like, yeah, different words, but then you get the idea. So the second type is the market compete organization, market compete culture. So this type of organization is very result oriented. They want fast results. The leaders are very tough and demanding. They always want to compete with the market. They want to win. Like this, there is a lot of emphasis on winning, killing the competition and going ahead and achieving achieving like big targets, achieving heavy target focused things. A success is defined by how much market share you have, what is the market penetration, and market dominance and leadership is important. Like these types of organization who follow this market compete culture or market culture or a compete culture, they want to have like a high market penetration. That's their end goal. And these are very result oriented. Can you give me an example of this type of organization? FANG companies, Apple, Samsung, FMCGs, yes, Uber is competing for market. There's like, there's no right or wrong answer, to be honest, but then these are some of the big names, mostly the companies who are in FMCG sectors, like where market is highly crowded. Those type of organization can be the market culture. I'm not taking a tech example because there is another type for it. Majorly FMCG companies or any companies in the sector where there is a high competition, they compete for market, and then they have to win the market share. They are market or compete culture. The third type of organization is clan culture, or like a more collaborative culture, which is like a friendly place to work where people share a lot. Leaders are vulnerable. They're very friendly. It's an extended family. People talk about it like they love to. They can gossip. They share everything with each other. Loyalty and traditions are important in this type of culture. The commitment is very high because it's like a family. The internal climate or concern for people is high. Basically, like if our colleague is like unwell, or like if they can extend easily without thinking about the hierarchy, they can extend help and stuff like that. So basically it's a very client type of culture. Can you give me an example of this type of a culture? Like they want to work on teamwork, participation, consensus, startups, accelerator. Yeah, can Google tries. Yeah, I mean, they want to have this hierarchy, but I think they're still more meritocratic. Okay, cool. ISEC aspires to be the clan type of culture. Nice. Cool. This is like, you can even say all the gangs, for example, like mafia gangs and stuff. They also work on like there has to be a mutual trust for these kind of organizations to work. Like, for example, you have to trust the leader above, the person next to you, person before you, person below you, in order to get stuff done in this type of organization. There is no formal rules or policies. There is no nobody follows compendium and stuff. They just they may have rules, but then it's morely friendly atmosphere. And the last type of culture um, is adhocracy or create culture. In this type of dynamic, or the organization which follows adhocratic culture, they're entrepreneurial, creative. People stick their neck out for the risk. This is a risk taking culture. They want to innovate a lot. They're very visionary. They're risk oriented. They have to have a rapid growth and acquiring new resources. They have to constantly innovate in order to stay ahead of the game. This is, they have to create like a lot of product. They'll probably create 10 products and make like one or two products the big ones, and that's how they will survive in the organization. So there's a lot of high commitment on the innovation, experimentation. They are very agile. They have to be agile. They have to change a lot quickly. It's very entrepreneurial. Can you give me an example of these type of organizations? Like a lot of tech companies would come into this, like Apple, or even Google. Like they want to have like adhocracy culture where they always stay ahead of the game by innovating a lot. So these are the four types overall. After you break down into 64 X by Y, these are the four main types of cultures of the organization. Guess which culture ISEC is? Is it adhocracy? Is it clan? Is it hierarchical? Or is it market compete? Guess. Type your guess in the chat. Clan plus create, adhocracy. Okay. Okay, no guesses. Okay, heading to create culture. Nice assessment. All right, let's see that. Let's see that how what our culture is. But then what you need to know is, before I share what type of organization Asia Pacific is, what type of culture we have in AP, you need to know that for each type of thing, the leader has to change. There has to be a different type of leader. So if you're leading an organization which has like a clan type of a culture, then the leader has to be more a facilitator, mentor, or a team builder. If it's an adhocracy, then you have to be innovator, entrepreneur, visionary. If it's hierarchy, then you have to be coordinator, monitor, organizer. And if you're market type, then you have to be hard driver, competitor, producer. These can go along with your MBTIs also, or your anagrams, or the team roles, Bell-Bean tests you have taken, right? Are you a facilitator or an organizer or a monitor, or hard driver, things like this. This is what you need to know. What type of leadership you want to exhibit, because what I'm coming to is, at the end you will have an activity with the team where you will define the kind of culture you want to have in context with ISEC 2025 for your entity. That's why I'm telling you this all theory. This may sound a bit theoretic, but yeah, know this. Okay. Giving an example from the book, I've given you the link. You can explore. There is the middle chapter for constructing an organization profile, like how to measure it. If you want to measure it, there is a lot of tools and everything given. The Excel sheet also, I think all of you have. So as I was saying, like if US government and army, they will have more hierarchical structure. The opposite of it will be like a high manufacturer, like who wants to have like an adhocracy culture. And in the middle, you can see like a multinational manufacturer who will showcase more of a market compete structure, market compete culture. So these are the things you can easily see by the type of different organizations over there. Now, what type of organization ISEC is heading towards? You need to understand this very carefully. ISEC 2025, like these are the three statements. You want to empower young people, build long-lasting ISEC, develop purposeful partnerships, blah, 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 right? Note, there is no statement highlighting the need of disruptive growth, how it was in 2015. In 2015, we wanted to be able to do from 5 to 500 within few weeks. That sort of a disruptive growth we were aiming for in 2015. But in 2020, we are not doing that anymore. So you're getting the change. Are you with me so far? Just give me a thumbs up. Okay. Second thing, we are highlighting the membership experience, and which indicates we need to have a lot of care for membership. We need to be completely focused on their development and everything. So this is another highlight I want to mention. And third thing I want to mention is we want to grow. It's not that we want to stagnate, but that growth has to come in the context of impact and improvement. So we want to impact the people, the young people. That's what we always do. But we also want to constantly improve in the kind of products we have. So in this context, we want to grow. Like we want to grow how we impact people and number of people, and also we want to grow in the improving our product. So this is what ISEC 2025 culture requires. Another thing I want to mention for 2025 is like if you see the KPIs we have is leadership experiences, including our members. We are measuring the experiences. They include the number of members also, number of percentage ideal members, number of active members. These were not part of 2015 or 2020 or before that. We were only measuring L plus X, like, which is I experience stuff in the past, but now we're actually measuring our membership also. This is like a huge addition. So we want to care for our membership experiences. This has fundamentally changed. Second thing, the metrics which are driving the need and coming with the new strategies and processes that has to drive the adhocracy culture. Like we want to innovate ELD. We have already launched the new EVA product. We want to come up with the new products. We want to innovate our current existing product. We are doing VPP to adapt to the current context, external context. We are doing, we are making GV dormant. We are changing, we canceled GE and stuff like that. We are making a lot of changes and a lot of new strategies and new processes that requires us to be more adhocratic organization, and we need to adapt how adhocratic organization work. And last but not the least, quality related metrics have come into the 2025 vision. If you see the two targets, the NPS partners response rate and also LPS, this is what states that we want to care for the quality. And this also has the elements of the market organization. You can only have high market penetration if you care for the quality of your products, right? So you're also focusing on clarity, like also focusing on the market penetration and customer satisfaction and things like this. So if you just focus on MXP, then membership experience, it will be like a clan culture. If it's just new strategies, then it will be adhocracy culture. If it's just quality related, then it will be a metric, like it will be a market structure. So how exactly, what should be the culture of ISEC? And what is the culture of Asia Pacific? We asked you, and these are the results. So somebody typed in the chat. So this is what the results were, the current state of how MCs, MCPs, MCVPs, LC. These are individuals. You can do it individually also based on the leadership styles. And if you see in AP, these were the average results. Like if you see majority of the focus where it was and how it is, we asked two things, like what do you think is the current state and what do you think is the preferred state? Don't worry, I will send you the slides. We asked to rate some things on ABCD and make sure the sum is 100. I hope you filled the form so you know. So this is how we did, and this is what the current and the preferred state came from. For AP specifically, the good news is our current and the desired state is almost similar. Like we think we have a clan culture for sure, highly inclined towards a clan culture, and there is a little discrepancy between current and preferred state, and we want to move towards an adhocracy a little bit, but at the same time we are decreasing a little bit in terms of market. If you see that's happening. I think majorly because of we were GV and then our majority of market was GV and now it's shifting a little bit. I think that is decreasing from there. But I think we are becoming more clan culture. We're talking about membership. We are working on our all the icon, like all the engagement programs and all those things. So that's there. So if you see, the culture is aligned with the current and the preferred state also. This is what the responses show. Now, no disclaimer, like this is what people think the culture is, and this is what people think they would want. But that then doesn't necessarily mean that is actually like that. This is not set in stone. That doesn't necessarily mean, okay, we need to have clan culture. Okay, let's have clan culture. It's not like that. It's a very interconnected and very intercomplex things. The good news is you as the highest management body in Asia Pacific can change this and drive this however you want in your entities, and you can make the change. You can have that difference. And what sort of a culture you want to drive down, that really depends on you. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to have a quick working time for about 10 minutes. Okay, I'm going to break you into the breakout rooms according to your entity and have like a quick discussion on what sort of a culture you want to have in the entity. So the question I wanted to ask is, what is the current culture of your entity? Is the current culture suitable for the current context, especially looking into ISEC 2025? What type of culture I want to have in my entity? And what action steps need to be taken in order to get those, um, get that culture, make that happen? You, sorry, not 15 minutes. You should have 10 minutes for this activity. I'll give you 10 minutes for this. And when you do this, I wanted to focus on, think about these things in action steps: R&R, coaching, mentoring, performance management, commission management, ICOM, learning spaces, recruitment, entity behaviors, for a lot of things. Okay. How you can influence the culture. These are the influenceable things you can have in your entity. Based on the culture you want to have, there will be either you have to change little bit, you have like a medium level changes, or there will be high level of changes based on the culture you want to have and based on the culture you currently have. So if you have low, then just tweak it. If you have medium, then just onboard and minor reallocation. If you want to have a high change in the culture, then you should have like a whole direction change, vision change. You need to have a lot of communication with the stakeholders, everyone. So note these, like this is the level of action step. This is the impact of action steps you need to have. And the end, the output has to be like 3 things you want to do to align the culture to ISO 2025. So now I'm going to put you into the breakout rooms for 10 minutes. MCPs help me drive the conversation with your MCs. What are the things you want to do? Aranesh, can you? I know this was not enough time for you for an entity breakout, but this was just a 45-minute space. I hope this served as a conversation opener with your MCP teams or MC teams, that what sort of a culture you want to have. And it's important to align to 2025 metrics, goals, the direction and everything. Does anyone want to share like a couple of things, or if not 3 things you want to do, or at least a couple of things, how is the space for you wanted to get? Just raise your hands and you want to share. Kezia wants to share. Go Kezia. Oh, why is UP sharing there?
Oh, okay. Kezia. Oh, yeah. Gue ya, berarti. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I would like to share like on the October of 2020, like our entity first volunteer guest, we ran an culture assessment. So we go back to the data, and then we see that mostly our entity nationally, like we have the culture as the clan culture as the dominant culture in our entity. And the second culture, we have the hierarchy and the advocacy. And the last one, we have market as our culture. So yeah, and then by the sharing, we also have the inferences for each role, like LCVP and team leader. So we share a little bit more about like how we should do like network management, like how we deliver information, because somehow the data reflecting on then how information that is being delivered by national, that is not well delivered to our local level. Yeah. So yeah.
Nice, very good. I see in Indonesia, they already have this in practice. You guys can learn from it. I can put one more guy, Chitra.
Hello. So yeah, so I think for me personally, like I really love this space and this session as well. So just now I had a conversation with my MC and also our MCPE was there as well. So we were actually I think personally I think this is really helpful for me and for my successor as well to actually understand the current culture of our entity and how can we me and actually my successor about to support each other to identify what are the culture that we want to bring into the next term as well. So I think right now, the culture in Iceland and Cambodia, we are more onto like the clan culture where people are friends and stuff. But the thing that we want to take on forward and move forward into our entity for next this second semester and also next year stuff, we want to ensure that the member and the plenary they about to foster their creativity to innovate and to about to dare to take risks for the entity in order for us to move forward as well. At the same time, I was discussing with my MCPE as well, since she is also TMOD, right? We were planning on how can we foster the healthy competition competitiveness culture in our entity as well to actually like able to allow the LC and the plenary to have the sense of like urgency or the sense of I need to do something, like the sense of I need to make something happen in the LC or to the entity. So yeah, we were discussing about all and all and stuff to actually foster this kind of culture in our entity. So yeah, I think this is really great. I love this session a lot, and actually it saved me some time to actually transition this topic to my successor, but it's really helped me a lot. Thank you.
Thanks, Chetra, for sharing that. Very passionate guy. Don't pull his leg, guys. He's very passionate. Go, Travis.
Yeah. So I think me and my team are actually quite excited in the space just now. Yeah, because we have also redefined our entity culture to align our entity direction and also with the current reality. Yeah, so we have also defined 3 of the very important values and elements. Yeah, so this is ROI. So it's not about return of investment. Yeah, but it's about resilient ownership and also innovative. Yeah, so but I think in the space just now, we also realized that we have a general direction about which values or the behavior that we want to see. But when we go deep into change management, maybe there are still some missing pieces, we can work on that. And I think just now the space provide a quite good framework for us to start with. Yeah, so I think that is the things that we are looking forward to. Yeah.
That's really nice. Thank you so much, Travis, for sharing that. This is my favorite questions to ask MCPs or like whenever I chair MCP elections or any elections, it just matter. This is the question I always ask. Like, if given a chance to change any of the 6 ISIC values and include your personal ISIC value to it, which one would you replace and why? This is my personal favorite question. And I think it talks a lot about our culture, what sort of a personal values you embody, because the values and the culture, like culture comes from the values, and like you've seen yesterday, right? Values, behaviors, and then culture and action, right? Like that's sort of a thing which drives culture is the amount of like the kind of personal values you deliver. And even Isro was talking about it in the previous space, like the 6 ISIC values and all that. So yeah, this is what I wanted to leave with. Just a couple of tips before. Just a couple of tips I want to give you is like first thing is role model the behaviors and actions you want to see. Because it starts at the most top, and it doesn't like it starts with you. Like if this conversation is not happening with you, if this conversation is not happening within MC team, it's not happening in the organization. So role model the behavior. If you want to see innovation, if you want to see more advocacy culture, if you want to see more clan culture, then it should start from the MC team. It should start from you. That's the kind of thing you want to say. Yeah, this is the picture, right? Yeah, like you should role model how your kids want to think, that sort of a thing. Like how do you shape the culture and the mindset and everything. The next thing is like how you achieve is more important than that you achieve. Like to be honest, like it's the journey. So like we will achieve 2025. I'm very passionate and I'm very hopeful and I'm very confident. but then how do we get there is also extremely important. Looking at all the things happening around the world, a lot of negative things around, a lot of positive things around, but then how do we adapt to that, and how do we adapt our culture and reach there is something extremely important. And last but not the least, innovate, because the worst thing you can do is do nothing. Like every action you take or don't take is also casting a vote on the kind of culture you want to see. Like if you want to change a culture, take a step. If you don't want to take, then take a step in different direction. But if you don't do anything, that's also like taking an action, and that will like if you want to innovate, then just start. Like it's just start somewhere. Just don't wait for someone else to come and change the culture or put the actions and the behaviors and the values and everything you want to see in your entity. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. Own the present, shape the future, lead the change. That's it for this session. Now you have, thank you so much. Make sure to fill the feedback form and give me your feedback if you want to improve this session. And I have like 6 more sessions in this conference, and I'm the conference manager. But if you want me to improve the next sessions, please fill the feedback form and let me know what you think about this session. That's it from me. Go to Hubilo to check out your next session, which is with none other than our big boss Isuru about shape the future. Bye.